Have you ever looked around your home and felt a quiet heaviness? Not chaos, not disaster, just a subtle sense that things aren't quite how you'd like them to be. Maybe the mail has piled up again. Maybe the dishes have lingered in the sink a little longer than usual. Or maybe it's simply the feeling that your home doesn't feel as calm, as welcoming, as yours as you wish it did. If that sounds familiar, I want you to know something right away. You are not alone. And more importantly, there's nothing wrong with you. Life gets busy. Our energy shifts. And sometimes the spaces we live in stop feeling like they're taking care of us because we've stopped taking care of them in ways that are gentle and sustainable. Today I want to talk with you about something small, not grand overhauls, not Pinterest perfect makeovers, just 7 tiny, meaningful habits that have helped thousands of women, especially in their later chapters of life, reclaim their homes as places of comfort, stability, and peace. These aren't rules. They're not about doing more. In fact, they're about doing less, but doing it with more heart. And by the end of this video, I hope you'll feel something shift inside you. Not because you added something to your to-do list, but because you remembered something you've always known. Your home is a mirror of how you treat yourself, and you deserve to feel safe, settled, and seen in it. Let's begin. 1. A loving morning. Start with the bed. There's something quietly powerful about the first thing you do in the morning, before the noise of the day rushes in, before the emails, the errands, the news, the responsibilities. There's a tiny window of time that belongs only to you, and what you choose to do with that moment can gently shape the tone of your entire day. For many organized women, and I don't mean perfectionists, I mean women who have found peace in their spaces, their mornings begin not with a phone, not with a chore list, but with one simple act of self-care. Making the bed. Now maybe that sounds silly at first. Maybe you're thinking, what difference does fluffing some pillows really make? But here's the truth. It's not about the bed. It's about what it represents. When you make your bed first thing in the morning, you're sending a message to yourself that says, today matters. I matter. My space deserves respect, and so do I. You're not doing it for anyone else, not to impress a guest, not because it looks good on Instagram, but because it's a soft, loving reminder that even in small ways, you can create beauty and order in your world. This habit doesn't need to be fancy. You don't need to iron sheets or have a perfectly matched duvet set. You just smooth the covers, fluff the pillows, and take a quiet breath as you do. That's it. But that 3-minute action tells your brain, I'm grounded. I'm starting this day with care. And here's what's interesting. When you start with that one little act of love, it ripples. You're more likely to take care of your coffee cup, to put away that sweater you almost left on the chair, to walk through your day with just a little more clarity. Not because you're suddenly a different person, but because your morning gave you a sense of rhythm instead of chaos. Especially as we get older, mornings can become sacred. They are no longer rushed and frantic the way they once were. They can be spacious, gentle, slow, and in that slowness, there's power. Making the bed becomes more than just tidying up. It becomes a ritual, a promise to yourself that today is worthy of intention. Now, of course, there will be days when you're too tired or when life throws you off track. That's okay. This isn't about being perfect. It's about giving yourself the option to begin again, every single day, with something steady and kind. So tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you think about what needs to be done, pause, breathe, turn to your bed, and with quiet hands, smooth the surface, straighten the edges. And if you're up for it, say something gentle out loud like, this is for me. That one act, repeated day after day, has the power to turn your room from a place you sleep into a space that holds you, that welcomes you back each night, that says, no matter how messy the world feels, here, in this little corner, there is calm, there is care, there is love. 2, keep the sink smiling. Let's talk about the kitchen sink. Not exactly the most glamorous part of a home, but quietly, it carries more emotional weight than we often realize. The sink is one of the most used and most visible spots in your home, and whether you notice it consciously or not, it tends to whisper a message to you every time you walk by. When the sink is clean or simply under control, not sparkling perfect, just cared for, it tells you something beautiful. This space is loved. You are in control, even if just a little. But when dishes pile up, when yesterday's coffee mug and last night's dinner plates are still there waiting, the message shifts. It becomes, you're behind. Things are slipping. And that subtle shift in tone can color your whole day without you even noticing. Here's the truth that many women I admire have learned over the years. You don't wait until the sink is overflowing to act. You tend to it little by little, gently, consistently. That's what organized women do, not because they love scrubbing dishes, but because they know what a cared-for sink represents. It represents dignity. So no, this habit isn't about perfection. It's about presence. You don't need to scrub every pan to a mirror shine. You don't need to run the dishwasher 5 times a day. What you do need is a mindset of micro-care. Maybe it's rinsing your mug right after tea. Maybe it's stacking 2 plates neatly instead of leaving them scattered. Maybe it's taking 10 seconds to wipe around the faucet with a towel. Tiny gestures, but they anchor you. And something almost magical happens when you do this regularly. You start to enjoy being in the kitchen again. You don't dread meal prep. Making a simple sandwich or heating up soup feels less like a burden and more like an act of comfort. You begin to see your kitchen not as another job on your list, but as the heart of your home. I've even heard women say that this habit changed their entire relationship with cooking. Because when the sink is calm, the whole room feels inviting. You start lighting a candle while you cook, playing a little music, pouring a glass of water with intention. You turn nourishment into a ritual again. And the best part? On the days when your energy is low, and we all have those days, you can still do one small thing. You can rinse one dish, you can wipe one counter, and in doing so, you're not just cleaning. You're sending a message, I'm still here. I still care. So the next time you pass by your sink, don't look at it with frustration. Look at it as a chance to do something quiet and meaningful, a chance to shift the atmosphere in your home just a little closer to peace. You're not just washing a spoon, you're choosing care over chaos. You're keeping the sink smiling. 3. Handle it now, not later. There's a quiet kind of freedom that comes from doing small things in the moment. And I don't mean grand gestures or big, bold check marks on a to-do list. I mean the tiny, almost invisible decisions we make dozens of times a day, like where we set our keys, or whether we fold that throw blanket, or whether we leave our reading glasses on the table. Again, these are the things that don't feel like a big deal until they add up. One jacket on a chair isn't a problem. One coffee cup left on the counter isn't a problem. But day after day, week after week, these tiny choices compound. And suddenly, your space feels like it's slipping away from you. Not because of one big mess, but because of hundreds of postponed moments. That's why one of the most powerful habits I've seen among truly grounded women, especially as they grow older, is the mindset of handle it now. If something takes less than a minute, they just do it. No debate, no delay. You walk in the door? Hang up your coat instead of tossing it on the back of a chair. Finish your tea? Take the mug to the sink now instead of hours later. Get the mail? Sort the junk before it hits the counter. Simple? Yes. Easy to forget? Also yes. But transformational? Absolutely, because here's what happens. The mental load starts to lift. You're no longer constantly scanning the room, mentally noting what you need to get to later. You're not living surrounded by half-finished tasks. You're free to enjoy your space, not just maintain it. And the beauty of this habit is that it builds on itself. Once you start noticing the impact of handling things in the moment, you want to do more. You want to feel that lightness again. You realize it's not about cleaning, it's about caring. Not in a rushed, I have to do it all way, but in a quiet, I respect this space and I respect myself kind of way. This isn't about being rigid. Life is unpredictable. There will be days when the blanket stays on the couch, when the dishes wait till morning. That's life. But when your default becomes presence instead of postponement, your whole home shifts. It begins to feel like a place that supports you, not one that constantly asks for more from you. And even deeper than that, this mindset helps you live with more intention. When you guide things back to where they belong, you're not just organizing stuff. You're practicing mindfulness. You're creating closure. You're completing the loop instead of leaving things open-ended and unfinished. So the next time you find yourself thinking, I'll just do it later, I invite you to pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, would this take less than a minute? If the answer is yes, go ahead and do it. Not out of obligation, but as a gift to your future self. To the you who walks back into that room and feels peace instead of pressure. Small completions. Quiet decisions. A home that breathes with you, not against you. That's what happens when you handle it now. 4. Choose what you see. Take a slow look around the room you're sitting in. What do your eyes land on first? Is it something that brings you peace? A family photo, a vase of flowers, a cherished book? Or is it something that subtly drains you? A stack of unopened mail, a cluttered shelf, a surface covered in things that don't quite belong? Here's a gentle truth that often gets overlooked. Not everything we own needs to be visible. In fact, when too many things are constantly in our line of sight, it creates a kind of background noise for the brain. Even if everything is technically in order, a crowded space can feel mentally overwhelming. It makes it harder to think, harder to relax, harder to truly feel at home. That's why organized women, especially those who've spent decades creating a meaningful life, often embrace this quiet but powerful habit, choosing what they allow themselves to see. Now, this doesn't mean you have to live like a minimalist or hide everything in boxes. This isn't about austerity. It's about intention, about giving your attention the dignity it deserves. Because what we see, we process. And what we process repeatedly becomes part of how we feel. Think about a bedside table, for example, a small, quiet space. When it's covered in books you're not reading, papers you meant to file, or chargers tangled in a knot, it becomes a source of mild stress, whether or not you realize it. But when that same table holds just a lamp, a single book you love, and maybe a photo that warms your heart, it becomes something entirely different. It becomes a retreat. The same goes for countertops, entryways, shelves. You don't need to strip them bare. You just need to choose what deserves to live in plain sight. Let the things that bring you peace or joy breathe. Let them stand alone so they can shine. Because when every surface competes for your attention, nothing really speaks to your heart. So here's a simple question to carry with you as you move through your home. Do I want to see this every day? If the answer is no, if the item doesn't inspire you, soothe you, or serve a clear purpose, consider putting it away. Not as a chore, as a kindness. And you'll start to notice something beautiful. Your home will begin to feel lighter. You'll walk into a room and breathe deeper. You'll see space, not stuff. And in that space, your mind has room to rest. Your spirit has room to stretch. You're not being pulled in 100 directions. You're being invited inward. This habit doesn't require money or new furniture or hours of effort. It just requires noticing, asking, editing gently, a little at a time. Because when you choose what you see, you're also choosing how you feel. You're reclaiming your space not just as a place to live, but as a place that helps you feel alive. 5. A gentle good night. There's a certain softness that settles over a home in the evening. The way the light fades, the sounds grow quieter, the day slowly releases its grip. It's in these in-between hours just before bed that you have a small but powerful opportunity to say goodnight to your home with intention. Now, I don't mean deep cleaning. I'm not talking about scrubbing floors or reorganizing closets at 9 p.m. I'm talking about a quiet ritual, a handful of small, loving gestures that help your home exhale and help you do the same. For many women I've known, especially those entering slower, more reflective seasons of life, this evening reset becomes a sacred part of the day. It might take 5 minutes, sometimes less, but it changes everything. Maybe you walk through the living room and gently fold the blanket you used earlier. Maybe you rinse that last cup in the sink and turn out the kitchen light with a soft sigh. Maybe you fluff a pillow, dim the lamps, or light a candle that signals the day is done and rest is welcome here. These aren't chores. These are small expressions of gratitude. They say, "Thank you, house, for holding me today." And they say to you, "It's safe to rest now." What's beautiful is how this simple practice transforms your mornings too. When you wake up and walk into a space that feels clean, calm, and lightly prepared, it sets a completely different tone for the day. You don't start with overwhelm. You start with lightness. You've already done a kindness for your future self, and that feeling lingers. And this habit is about more than just physical space. It's a chance to reflect, to pause and consider what the day held, what made you smile, what felt heavy, what you're ready to let go of, and what you're carrying into tomorrow. A gentle goodnight to your home often becomes a gentle check-in with your heart. On hard days, it might feel like too much, and that's okay. Just do one thing. Wipe one surface. Tuck in one chair. Turn off one light with care. Even the smallest act becomes meaningful when done with intention. Because ending the day isn't just about stopping, it's about transitioning. It's about releasing the urgency and welcoming in softness. It's about creating closure, not just for your to-do list, but for your spirit. So tonight, when the house quiets down, give yourself that moment. Walk slowly, move gently. Let your hands bless the space in simple ways. You'll be surprised how deeply this practice anchors you. And tomorrow, when you open your eyes and walk into that same space, don't be surprised if it greets you like an old friend, with calm, with warmth, and with a quiet whisper. You're home. Bonus 1. Create a basket of blessings. Not every part of your home needs to be functional. Some parts should simply be beautiful, meaningful, quietly sacred. And that's where this next habit comes in, a habit that has touched the hearts of so many women I've spoken to over the years. It's the idea of creating a small, intentional space in your home I call a basket of blessings. Now, don't let the word basket throw you off. It doesn't have to be a literal basket. It can be a box, a tray, a drawer, a corner of a shelf. What matters is that it's yours, and that it's filled only with things that carry emotional weight, not utility, not trendiness, not obligation, just quiet personal meaning. In this little space, you might keep a handwritten note from someone you love, a seashell from a beach you walked years ago when life felt especially full, a photograph that still makes you smile when you see it, a small stone you picked up on a morning walk, a card someone sent you when you needed it most. None of these things need to be expensive. In fact, most of them aren't. But they carry something much more valuable than price. They carry memory, emotion, a thread that ties you to what matters most in your story. And what's so special about having a space like this is that it becomes a place you can return to, not just physically, but emotionally. On the days that feel heavy when you're tired or discouraged, you can go to this spot, open it gently, and remember. Remember that joy has visited you before. That beauty has found its way into your life, even in small and quiet moments, and that it will again. This basket can change with you too. As seasons pass, you may remove things and add others. Let it evolve. Let it reflect who you are becoming, not just who you've been. Some women make this space part of their morning ritual, starting the day with a moment of stillness and gratitude. Others use it at night as a grounding practice before sleep. There's no right or wrong way. The only rule is fill it only with what lifts your spirit. Because in a world that constantly demands more from us, more efficiency, more productivity, more doing, this small space becomes an act of resistance. It says, not everything in my home needs to be practical. Some things are here purely to nourish my soul. You deserve that. You deserve a space in your home that reflects your inner richness, your memories, your resilience, your joys, and it starts with something as simple as a little basket, a little blessing, a little reminder that your life is full of treasures, if only you pause long enough to see them. Bonus 2. Let fresh air in every day. There's something quietly transformative about opening a window. It sounds simple, ordinary even, but in a world that often feels heavy and stale, physically, emotionally, spiritually, letting fresh air into your home becomes a powerful act of renewal. Organized, grounded women often share this one gentle habit. They open a window every single day, no matter the season, no matter the forecast. It might be just for a few minutes, a small crack in the glass, but it's enough. Enough to let movement stir the stillness, enough to invite change. Because here's the thing, air that never moves becomes stale. And not just the air around you, but the energy within a space. Homes, like people, need to breathe. They need to release the residue of yesterday, the tension, the to-do lists, the worries that hung in the air after a phone call or a difficult moment. And when you open a window, even just a sliver, it's as if you're saying to your home and your heart, let it go. Make space for something new. This habit doesn't take effort. It doesn't take planning. You can do it while waiting for the kettle to boil or brushing your teeth. Just reach out, unlatch the frame, and feel the air shift. Maybe it's a breeze carrying the smell of rain or morning sun warming the sill. Maybe you hear birdsong, leaves rustling, or the distant hum of life outside your walls. These sounds remind you that you are part of something bigger, something alive, ever-changing, and full of quiet possibility. On difficult days, when the weight of life feels close, this small ritual becomes a lifeline. It says, today may be hard, but I am open to new breath, new energy, new beginnings. It connects your body, your mind, and your space in a simple, restorative way. And on ordinary days, it still matters, because consistency in small acts is what builds a nurturing home. And this act of letting in the air, becomes a daily gift to your nervous system, your mood, your perspective. So tomorrow morning, before you dive into your routines, try this. Open a window. Let the outside in. Let the inside breathe. Let your home whisper a little sigh of relief. Let your soul do the same. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Just a shift, a release, a breeze, and suddenly the day feels just a little lighter. Maybe after hearing all of this, you feel inspired. Or maybe you feel a little overwhelmed. And that's okay. The truth is, you don't have to do it all. Not tonight, not tomorrow, not ever really. Because this isn't a checklist. This is a way of being, one small step at a time. One soft habit that gently says, I care about where I live, and I care about how I feel inside it. You don't need to be perfect to have a peaceful home. You don't need fancy tools or color-coded systems. You only need the willingness to begin. And maybe that beginning is something as simple as making your bed tomorrow morning, or rinsing one plate, or opening one window and breathing a little deeper. These aren't just habits. They're invitations, ways to return to yourself through the space you call home. They help you remember that you deserve rest, beauty, clarity, and calm, no matter what season of life you're in. So here's my question to you. Which one will you start with? What small change are you going to try this week? I'd love to hear in the comments, because your story, your voice, might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this video brought you a little peace or inspiration, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe and join this community. Here we believe that a meaningful life is built not through pressure, but through presence. Not through having it all together, but through gently coming home to yourself, one step at a time. Thank you for spending this time with me. Truly. Until next time, take a deep breath, smile softly, and remember, you're doing better than you think, and your home is already becoming the sanctuary you've been longing for.